Okay. Andrea, hi.
Hi. Could I follow up? The Secretary's call was, though, well after the fire and fury language. Senator McCain and others, Republicans and Democrats, have complained that it was, quote, bombastic in Senator Feinstein's view, not helpful, said Senator McCain, that no other president, not Eisenhower, not Reagan, no other president that he knew of would have used such language. And the implication from all of the critics is that the president's language implied the use of nuclear force. Is that the way the Secretary read it? And did the Secretary have any early warning from his earlier phone call that this was going to happen? Or did he only speak to the president in the aftermath?
He spoke to the president after the fact, after the president made his announcement. You know, as people look at this, and some consider comments to have been alarming, I would have to go back to this. Let's consider what is alarming. What is alarming: 2 ICBM tests in less than a month, 2 nuclear tests that took place last year. As a matter of fact, when there's an earthquake in China, I get many emails and calls from all of you asking, was it another nuclear test? That is how big of a deal this is, at what is going on. Let me just follow up. Let me finish. Okay, please. Sure. It is a big deal what is going on. It is a concern to the world, not just the United States. Those are alarming actions. They are provocative actions on the part of North Korea.
My question is, given those provocations from North Korea, which has been belligerent in the extreme, granted, stipulated, is it helpful or unhelpful for the president to use the kind of language that we have seen previously coming from Kim Jong-un, not from presidents of the United States? Is he exacerbating the
president spoke to him, to Kim Jong-un, in a language that Secretary Tillerson has said, and said this morning, in the kind of language that Kim Jong-un will understand. We would like to see results. The pressure campaign, we see that working. The international community is in agreement with the United States and many of our partners and allies on putting additional pressure on North Korea. The Secretary happens to be coming back from the ASEAN conference, where they had tremendous success. It was a good week for diplomacy. I know you all want to obsess over statements and all of that and try to want to make a lot of noise out of that, but what is important to keep in mind is that this diplomatic pressure at ASEAN, at the meeting of the 10 Asian nations along with the United States, came to a joint agreement and a joint statement and put out a very strong condemnation of North Korea. We are all singing from the same hymn book.
A lot of us have reported on the success of that effort at the UN and in ensuing days. That doesn't take away from that to question the lack of a national security interagency process in this instance with a presidential statement that has perhaps undercut the previous success.
I don't know that I would agree with you on that. Okay, so next question.
Latest assessment of this framework.
Okay, let me just give you a little bit of information on that. Today I've sort of been steeped in DPRK, so forgive me if I'm not answering your entire question here. I can certainly get back with you about that. You bring up the issue of the South China Sea. That was another major issue that was talked about at the ASEAN Forum. So the ASEAN Foreign Ministers' joint communique, which came out at the end of the forum, contains language on the South China Sea, and that reflects ASEAN's important role in strengthening the rules-based order that benefits all nations, both large and small. We welcome the ministers' reaffirmation of the importance of freedom of navigation. We share their concerns over developments that we consider to be unconducive to regional stability, such as land reclamation. ASEAN also stressed the importance of exercising self-restraint, including refraining from militarization of features in the South China Sea. The communique also emphasized the peaceful resolution of disputes, including full respect for legal and diplomatic processes, such as the July 2016 decision of the tribunal, which is binding on China and the Philippines, as provided in, and I want to just get the language right, so bear with me here, as was provided in the Law of the Sea Convention. ASEAN was under tremendous pressure, but still held on to its principles. Okay, anything beyond that I can get you later. Okay.
We go to the Palestinian issue for a second?
We can certainly try.
Yeah. Human Rights Watch issued a report saying that the Israelis stripping Jerusalemites of their residency is tantamount to a war crime. I wonder if you read the report and if you are aware of all that governs such a forced eviction if it happened.
Yeah. So, Saeed, nice to see you. You know I always call on you.
I know you do.
I know, yes. Seems that when you haven't been called on in the past, you've chosen to vent that in public.
Well,
Our reporters typically don't do that.
it's okay.
And I want to point out that I'm calling you
I
on
did
you
not
again
vent it
today.
in public. It's all right. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for asking that question. I've certainly seen those reports. We've seen those reports and are aware of them. On this, as any judicial case, I'm not going to weigh on that in particular from the podium. I just have to refer you to the government of Israel for specifics about those cases.
But you do have a position. If this happens, if stripping 15,000 Jerusalemites of their right to reside in their own hometown and forcing them out, that would be tantamount to forced displacement. Correct?
I would just have to say we're aware of that report. We'll continue to monitor that, but I'm not going to weigh in on every case from here.
Okay, and one last follow-up.